Welcome to Bunch Formation, forever your newest college football podcast. I'm Chris Vannini, and I just don't see them stopping me because they don't have Nick Saban to save them.
Chris, I'm David Ubben, and please, Thomas Castellanos is my father. Call me Tommy.
Also, I don't have a nipple ring. I was debating leading with that, but instead we both went with Thomas Castellanos.
Prove it, Chris.
It's a family-friendly show. Guys, college football is back, and what a chaotic week one it was, or at least almost was. We still have TCU and North Carolina still to play, but we're going to talk Florida State. We're going to talk LSU, Arch Manning, Julian Sayin, Alabama, Byron Brown, Auburn.
There's so
Tulane.
much.
There was so much college football this weekend. I calculated that as of late Saturday night, right before I went to bed, late in Washington, Colorado State, I had gotten 3 hours of sleep in a 40-hour window because of my nightmare travel back from Baylor, which we will get into. We will also get into David's long trip across the Carolinas and Atlanta back and forth. We are actually probably recording this podcast in two parts. The first part is before Sunday's game, so we could knock out as much as we could before he has to go to the game. Then we'll have some after. Dave, outside of the games you went to, were you able to watch much college football? Because you were in the car a whole lot.
Chris, listen. We go hard here at Bunch Formation, and listen, I've traveled during game days a lot. The only real issue when I'm traveling is I can only really do one game. I'll usually have it on YouTube TV and port it to get it to the audio in the car, and then my wife doesn't particularly like it, but the phone in the console basically. So I can drive safely.
Kids don't be doing this. I can
look down. It's I don't recommend it, but so basically when I was traveling on Saturday, I was traveling during the 3:30 window, and the only game that was kind of happening was Florida State, Alabama. So I didn't really miss much. And then obviously I've gone into this before, but when I'm covering a game, generally I travel with two laptops. And so I have my own
crazy
view. It's not crazy. It's because
to take an iPad.
Everything.
You can do multi-view on the iPad. That's
whatever. That's what I do. So I watched everything in the morning window, and then in the night window, there wasn't a ton. Clemson's press box is tight, so I wasn't able to do my two laptop setup, but I was in Atlanta, and I'll do it again, as needed. But I think I saw most everything on Saturday.
It was a lot. Thanks to everybody, by the way, who joined the Bunch Formation After Dark live show late on Saturday.
Including me.
It was a solo show from me. I ended up going for 50 minutes because I just was maybe I was so sleep deprived. I was just kind of stream of consciousness. But we had a good chunk of people, and they're regularly giving comments. So we were having conversations.
Yeah.
David popped in for about 5 minutes from the Clemson interview room. So we're going to try to do that when available Saturday nights. If we get the both of us on, we may put it up on a Sunday morning show on the feed, but at the moment we kind of just want that to be just kind of a fun way to chill, put it up on YouTube, not editing it or doing anything like that. When we're around on Saturdays, this is going to be there's a lot to get to in the show, so check out the show notes for the timestamps if you want to jump around. Bunchformationpod@gmail.com to check out things, and please give us a 5-star review or a Spotify comment. We'll read them all on the show, and we've had a lot, so we've had to split them up over several episodes. So real quick, we got Pooch _Pun, who says, quote, "No podcast duo plucks my CFB heartstrings like David and Chris. 1 minute, they're dusting off names like Hodges, Mitchell, and TJ Duckett. The next, they're talking about David's bizarre eating habits or bemoaning a quarterback breaking with traditional numbering conventions.
Normal eating habits, I should note.
They've earned a permanent spot in my rotation, and they probably deserve one in yours too." End quote. Thank you, Pooch _Pun.
Appreciate it.
UC Bearcat Matt says, quote, "I listen to a lot of college football podcasts and shows, and it's awesome to hear guys talk about college football with the knowledge and excitement like these two do. It gets tiresome hearing other shows talk down and take shots at non-blue blood schools, but these guys talk about all the teams and all the games with all the same insight and respectfulness across the board. Huge fan of Chris's writing over the years, and I'm fairly new to David's work, and I'm highly recommending this pod to other college football fans in my life. Keep up the awesome work and go Bearcats." Thank you to UC
All right.
Bearcat Matt. And all right, Dave, is it time to get into the games?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We're going to start off. So we have a drop for the media segment.
The kids are playing their tail off, and the coaches are screwing it up.
And with this, we're going to do basically overreactions or not. Because you're listening to this on Monday, so in many cases, it's 2 days since the game. So I don't need to recap the whole game. But we're going to start off with what was supposed to be the biggest game of the weekend, Ohio State, Texas. Ohio State wins 14-7. And here's a thought, David. Tell me if this is an overreaction or not. Arch Manning will not make the Heisman Trophy ceremony in New York.
I think that's a fair reaction. I think the Arch conversation is complex. We can get into it, but I think that's a fair reaction.
He was shockingly not good in this game. I had concerns about other parts of the Texas offense, the offensive line, the ability to run the ball a bit. I did not see Arch missing as many open guys as he did. In key spots, too, the third down on the crossing route to Wingo late. The first throw of the game, I think, was at a guy's feet. He was erratic in a way that I did not expect him to be. That was not the thing. I wonder, could he handle various coverages and contains and stuff like that? And he had some issues with that. But it was a lot of the easy throws that he struggled with. He made some big time throws too, and you could see it.
Especially there on that final drive. But
he makes that one throw down the sideline. It's an NFL throw.
Yeah.
But it's sandwiched around two missing wide open guys. And so it's I don't know. Yeah. Is it just one game and he gets over it? Or are we really pulling back on the hype train? What did you think about the game?
So we talked about this going into the game, Chris. I think two things. One, this first meaningful start where there's a ton on the line, the season's hopes are kind of resting on him. It's not Louisiana Monroe, Mississippi State, whatever. I said on this Thursday show, it's hard to win on the road. It's especially hard to win on the road in your first big start at Ohio State, who probably has, what are we going to say, top 3 defense, top 5 defense at worst, maybe the best defense in the country. We'll see. So the degree of difficulty was off the charts. And I think when that happens and when you've had a bad day and your confidence is a little shaken and you got maybe some happy feet, you're sort of looking over your shoulder, I think it can mess with your mechanics. So I think multiple things can be true here. That one, I think the hype train certainly got out of control with Arch Manning. But 2, I also think he's going to be fine. But it might not happen this year. Think about Cade Klubnik in 2023. I think that's a good example. Maybe not the best timed example.
Yeah, well, it's not a great.
I know.
Klubnik.
But we've seen this a lot. Yes, generally, if guys are going to be elite, you see it almost immediately. But the tools are obviously there. The mental capacity, I think, is clearly there. The work ethic, understanding how to prepare, doing all those things, good head on his shoulders. He's not flirt with the portal every year and chasing checks and all these things. He'll be fine. It's going to take a while. But I think in a game like that, where there's so much on your shoulders and you've played so poorly early, I think it can shake you. So I'm still holding on to my Arch stock. I just think, the comparison with Deion in 2023, I think, is simple because there's so much attention on Arch and so many people who don't watch college football and aren't locked into college football watching Arch and thinking about it. It's the same people that when Deion and Colorado were 3-0, they're like, this is a national championship team. And it's anybody who knows, it's no, it's not.
Paul Feinbaum called them the best college football players since Tim Tebow.
That's fine, but I think there was a concept that people were mad that the media sold them something. And one, I don't think all media were saying that, especially the college football hardcores. I think people that really pay attention to the sport and cover the sport year round were the hype's not insane in terms of yes, Arch could become great, but he's probably not going to be great early. I mean, Chris, we did this on our national championship reaction show, did we not? We talked about Arch, and I was like, the conversation on Arch is going to be toxic because there's so much unfair expectation on him. And so I think he's going to be fine, but I think most people were not selling like Arch is going to be a god immediately. And also,
he was in several commercials during that game in a way that you typically don't see.
But that's commercial. That's fame. That's not being great. And I think you don't have to buy what people are selling just because some people are selling that.
So, what's your take on the game other than that? Anything on Ohio State?
I mean, I just think my takeaway is it's hard to win on the road. I think those are two of the 5 or 6 best teams in the country. They were hanging with each other. I think this is very similar to the Clemson LSU game, which we'll talk about later. But some of those teams are gonna lose, and I think coming away from that, I didn't leave those games thinking, well, these teams aren't what we thought they were. I just think there's 2 really good defenses, or both those games. Some of these teams are going to have to lose, and Arch.
The defenses are ahead of the offenses in almost all of college football right now.
Yes,
that seems pretty clear. I think Texas going 0 for 3 in the red zone is a red flag, because this has been
an issue,
kind of the problem under Steve Sarkisian. They were like 50th last year, 100 and something the year before, 60th the year before that. When they get in the red zone, they struggle. If they're not, if it's tight, they struggle to get in the end zone, and it's an issue. You think about last year, the red zone fumble that Sawyer returns for the winning touchdown for Ohio State, or the touchdown last year that put it away. And if Texas just gets in on 4th and 1 at the goal line, or they get the one earlier in the.
Can we talk about that sequence really quickly?
It's a different game. The 4th down and the goal line stop.
That was crazy. Listen, yeah. So Sarkisian is really creative. Obviously, I think he's one of the best play callers in college football right now. We've seen him draw up so much stuff, and it seems like when they get into the red zone, that creativity kind of disappears, especially inside the 5. And there seems to be a denial piece of Texas. You're not going to blow Ohio State off the ball. You haven't been able to run the ball consistently all game. Maybe you want to play a numbers game. They seem to want to just run Arch like into the B gap basically, and just hope that they could get him, over the top. And it just didn't work for him. But at some point, you're not moving Ohio State, and so I don't know why they
which nobody could last year. They had several goal line stops.
Yeah, and so I don't. The creativity was disappearing there. We didn't see that. Yeah, I think you can do like, where's the rub routes? Where is some kind of misdirection? Where is the naked boot? Where is giving Arch the run pass option, not the RPO, but like a play action, maybe not a naked boot, but you got some crossers. We just didn't see that. He just wanted to keep pounding it. And I respect trying to run the ball inside the 5, but when you I think they just ran basically the same thing 3 or 4 times, right? It was 3 Arch runs and a handoff to Weissner. You're not moving them. And if you're not moving them, especially inside the 5, you got to do something else. And we just didn't see that. That creativity was gone.
On the Ohio State side, this defense replaced a bit, but as good as maybe we thought they could be already. Matt Patricia, terrific defensive game plan. The defensive coordinator playing 2 high safeties, taking away stuff in the middle, making Arch go through his reads and find stuff on the outside. He was really flustered.
Ryan Wingo, 2 catches for 35 yards. We talked about him on the Thursday show, total non-factor. And I don't think that's about Wingo.
As the Detroit Lions guys, you can see from the helmet behind me, not a lot of good feelings about Matt Patricia, but have to hand it to him there. Julian Sayin, Ohio State quarterback, was not great or not even good, but because this is a former 5-star guy, but because he's going up against Arch Manning, he was better than Arch. 13 for 20, 126 yards. The touchdown pass he threw to Carnell Tate was badly underthrown.
Good. Not good, but fortunately he's got Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith.
Yes, and that'll help. So Ohio State, not sure yet if they're going to be my number 1, and that's because of the other next game we need to talk about, where you were at, which was LSU 14, Clemson 10. Sorry, LSU 17, Clemson 10. And my reaction to this, tell me if it's an overreaction or not. Dabo Swinney will never win another national championship.
No, I don't think that's true. You might do it this year. I think especially in the playoff era. So the column that I wrote off of that game last night was basically like, it's easy to bury Clemson. Dabo's talking 16-0 before the season, all of these things. But they're fine. And I think the one thing that people are overlooking is Clemson lost their best receiver after the first drive. Antonio Williams didn't play. And, the way that these guys are wired and Dabo and Cade Klubnik, they're not going to be like, oh, yeah, we were, take away any team's best receiver, and it's going to be an issue in a game like that, even at home. LSU very improved. I think we saw that. This is a team that, I think will be a contender, of course. I think there's obviously a case for them as the number one here, but that schedule, if you look ahead at LSU schedule, it's crazy. And that's not the case for Clemson. I think Clemson's going to be able to coast into the playoff. So they didn't play very well.
Not about getting.
It's
not about getting to. It's not about getting to the national championship. It's about
winning it. I think they can do that this year.
It's not about getting to the playoff. It's about doing something when you're there. I was totally wrong about this game. I thought Clemson was going to win. I thought both teams were going to hit the over, which was like 57.5. And instead, Cade Klubnik goes out there 19 for 38 passing, 6.1 yards per attempt. Clemson has 1.7 yards per rush. These problems that we saw last year, at least one game in, were not fixed. Other than, I guess, they stopped the run against LSU, an LSU team that can't run the ball anyway.
Yeah,
I would yes, you lost Antonio Williams, but you have a lot of other veteran guys there with you. And Klubnik looked lost. It looked like Clemson had never seen a blitz before. LSU Blake Baker, they were blitzing the heck out of him.
They were cooking it up last night. They blitzed a corner from the boundary into the Peay gap. And absolutely, Cade never saw it. By the time he saw it, the guy was already screaming at him. That was an unbelievable call.
And it was like, man, I know it was 17-10 and whatever, but LSU had a touchdown or catch or whatever called back on a very weird review. And Brian Kelly didn't kick a field goal at one point. This game was not close.
LSU was the better team, clearly.
LSU finishes, they outgain them 356 to 262. They 25 first downs to Clemson's 13. They were just that whole second half. You could see LSU had taken over that game.
Yeah.
And Clemson, a veteran team with his veteran quarterback and all these guys, could not make plays. I had Clemson number 2 in my poll. I think we both had them in the national championship game.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
I picked a rematch of this game in the national championship.
You did, and so maybe that's the case. Maybe LSU is amazing. We'll talk about them in a second. But I kept saying Texas, Ohio State, those teams are going to grow throughout the year. I thought LSU and Clemson, I think, are pretty close to their ceiling. And if this is Clemson's ceiling right now, I don't like it.
I just think they played poorly, though. They just played poorly. I think that
you have to. I don't know what you were there. What'd you think about LSU?
I mean, I think this is obviously going to be Brian Kelly's most complete team. You look back at that first year that they went to the SEC championship. That wasn't a great offense. They had Jaden Daniels, but he was still kind of figuring it out. You remember how they played in that opener. He the first half of the season, he wasn't very good, and then got a little bit hot later in the year. They beat Bama. They go to Atlanta. This is a pretty complete team. I think it starts with the experience at quarterback, but they've really upgraded defensively. This is year 2 for Blake Baker. I think that's a big deal. They brought back a ton. They figured out how to use Harold Perkins. He looked comfortable last night. So the Harold Perkins thing, he burst onto the scene as a freshman, and you're like, this guy is unbelievable. He's getting Heisman hype coming off of his true freshman season. And I think there was a lot of NFL stuff where, okay, he's not big enough to play edge in the NFL, so we're going to turn him into a middle, and he's going to have to do a lot of other stuff. And then last year he gets hurt. He hasn't really been that guy. And this year they've turned it back to see ball, get ball. And guess who's the guy that's pressuring Cade Klubnik on the decisive 4th down in his face, taking him to the ground? It's Harold Perkins coming off the edge. They've simplified what they need from him. And I think they've got that identity. They figure out they know how they want to use their personnel. Offensively, there's still a ways to go. But again, similar to Arch at Ohio State, Nussmeier didn't look great. The receivers still have a little bit of ways to go. They need to find a more consistent running game. I do like Caden Durham. But ultimately, they made the plays to win this game. And I think a lot of that is having experience at quarterback and Garrett Nussmeier. And I think that gives you such an edge, especially early in the season in games like this. And so I think LSU is probably still going to take at least one loss, probably 2, just because you look at the schedule, it's insane. And so, they're obviously a playoff team. I don't know that they're going to roll through it. But this is Brian Kelly's most complete team. And with a win like that comes expectation. So LSU's got to finish this season, probably in the top 5, top 10. Anything less than 10-2 at this point, and people are going to be very, very angry at Brian Kelly because this team does have the ability and the potential to win a national championship. And I don't think any other Brian Kelly team has had that. And this is a hungry place that hasn't tasted that since Joe Burrow in 19.
I loved how they knew they couldn't run the ball effectively, so Joe Sloan, the offense coordinator, used a lot of wide receiver screens and get the wide receivers involved in the running game to do some stuff instead of just lining up and pounding it, which they're not going to be able to do. So I thought that was very creative on that front. And I was so they lose Bryce Underwood to Michigan and a big financial package. And what LSU does is they use a lot of that money that was going to go to Underwood and they get even more defensive guys. And I was a little skeptical about some of them. I was like, how are these guys going to hold up in the SEC? And I know this technically isn't the SEC, but man, they were flying out there. The front was getting constant pressure. The secondary was locking down. We haven't seen an LSU defense play like this in years.
Yeah.
That was oh, okay. This felt like an old LSU defense. And if that's what LSU's defense is going to be, sky's the limit for this team.
I think that's my biggest takeaway from this game is I didn't come away thinking that much different about Clemson. Like Clemson's going to be fine. LSU, I think because of that defense. The offense, we needed a little bit more dynamic stuff from the receivers. They need more from those guys, instead of just contested balls. But they've got the pieces there. I mean, obviously, we saw some stuff in that game from Barry and Brown. Aaron Anderson had a nice catch and run. Those guys are going to be able to take care of some teams. And then Trey'Dez Green, a giant, that contested touchdown that he had, 6'7", 240. I mean, the dude is a dude, and that was awesome. And I think they have all the pieces there. We're just gonna need to see more. And again, first game of the season on the road against one of the best teams in the country. It's hard. You can take away all this stuff. They're gonna look better against other teams. That is a high degree of difficulty. They didn't look perfect.
They will.
They won.
I'm not, but with Clemson, I'm not saying they won't win the SEC or make the playoff. I'm just saying that was not a performance that gave me any hope that they were going to make a semifinal or a championship type of run. Yeah, because I don't it's not like there's much to figure out. You couldn't run the ball. You know who your guys are at running back. And I don't know. We'll see. Maybe.
I just think it comes down to do you have the dudes or do you not have the dudes? And they have the dudes. And I think I wrote about this in my column last night. Everybody wanted to bury Notre Dame last year. I didn't. And guess what? They played for a national championship. Ohio State, same thing. They lose to Michigan. Everybody wants to bury them. I might have wanted to bury them also. I didn't like what they did during the regular season. But they had dudes, okay? And if you have the dudes and you have the personnel that gives you the baseline to win the title, then you can do that. Clemson has got that. 7 guys on Phil Steele's 3 All-American teams. That's insane.
So you should score more than 10 points.
Sure, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with they played poorly.
At home, too.
Playing poorly and not being a good team are two different things. And I think that is the biggest gap between the ball knowers of the world and the just people who watch on TV and are mad at Arch for not scoring on a quarterback sneak. They didn't play very well. That doesn't mean they can't change that later. We've seen them.
What did they say? Clemson has lost 4 straight to SEC teams.
4 in a row to SEC. 8 of 11 they've lost.
Yeah, they can. They're continually not getting there. We'll see if it changes. Next game, Florida State 31, Alabama 17.
Woo!
Is this an overreaction? The Alabama dynasty run, whatever you want to call it, is officially dead.
Dead.
Is that an overreaction?
No. The nails are in the coffin. It's in the ground. And Tommy Castellano spent 60 minutes just throwing dirt on it. Here's the deal with what we're talking about here with Bama. That's not to say they can't win the SEC under Kalen DeBoer. They can't do it. But the Bama that we know it, that if they lose, it's a holiday for some. It feels like a seismic moment in the sport, which every Bama loss has felt like a seismic college football moment, basically, for the last 15 years. That's done. Kalen DeBoer losing 4 games to unranked teams in 2 seasons now, when Nick Saban did it 4 times, I think, ever. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then he's lost 4 games as a double-digit favorite, and Nick Saban was, 131-2? Do I have that correct?
Is a 14-point favorite.
14-point
touchdown favorite. He's only been the coach. He's only been the coach for 14 games.
Yes, that's the hallmark of the Saban program. That's why Alabama was great. It wasn't the big showdowns that they won. It was that they never came out flat. They never played bad games. They might play games that weren't up to Saban's standard, but they didn't lose to teams that didn't have anything close to the personnel that they did. Now, a couple things with that. One, I do think that part of this is the NIL era, where they don't have the same depth they have. Alabama has recruited very well.
That applies to the whole SEC, by the way.
Yes, it does.
I had half written a column last night. If LSU had lost, going to write about the playoff and how we need to stop pretending this is kind of essentially.
Yeah.
It didn't happen because LSU turned out to be really good. But
so I think that's true. That yes, they don't have that depth, but we have seen this how many times, and this was the biggest question that we had about Kalen DeBoer coming from Washington to Alabama, is his teams did not show up sometimes in games that they didn't need to play their A game to win, and that has been. I mean, Vanderbilt, obviously. Florida State, we'll see what Florida State is, but I don't think this is a Florida State. I mean, I'm not sure.
But you're going into knowing you played a team that just went 2-10 last year.
Yes, they did not. This is a team that has played poorly a lot under Kalen DeBoer. I mean, the Michigan game last year was, that was crazy, and I think last year's Bama team was probably more talented than this one. 5-alarm fire in Alabama. That looks like an 8-win team to me.
Like Kalen, like the biggest question I had about Kalen DeBoer coming into Alabama was, would he be able to recruit? And he is.
He has. The recruiting
very
part
well.
Has been fine. Yeah.
It's the football part that has been the problem, and that is not at all what I expected. I thought Alabama was going to come in and just roll over them with that offensive line that's big, that's veteran. Florida State's undersized up front.
I told you. I warned you guys this line was off.
And on the first drive, they did that. They went right down the field and scored a touchdown. And then after that, Florida State was able to get pressure. They dialed up some blitzes. Ty Simpson was either not seeing the field or nobody was open, because that whole second half, he's running for his life, making something out of nothing. I don't have the all 22. I don't know if guys were open downfield or if he's late or what. But Bama also didn't call a game that felt like they were really confident in their quarterback to make a lot of those throws. Mm-hmm. And this was like, and then on the other side, this looked like the old-fashioned Gus Malzahn against Nick Saban back in the day. Alabama, that first half was completely lost on all these misdirections. Florida State finishes with 230 rushing yards, almost 5 yards per carry. Gus Malzahn has won 3 of his last 5 games against Alabama. He tweeted after the game, felt like old times.
That was great. Did you see the Bruce Pearl tweet also?
I didn't see the Pearl tweet. What did he say?
Bruce Pearl tweet. I don't know who. It was an AI like rendering, and I don't remember who. I don't remember who was driving the bus, but basically, it was just the Gus bus driving over. I think it was the Alabama Elephant. It was very funny. Auburn enjoyed that Alabama loss.
Ryan Williams gets a concussion late. Hope he's okay, but he also had like 3 drops in that game. And another thing that really stuck out, just like, they're not organized. 8 penalties in this game. They were ranked 113th in penalties last year. They had a penalty that would have set up a 3rd and long. Instead, of personal foul wipes it out. Mm-hmm. That is the drive that leads Florida State to go back up 14 points in the 4th quarter. They're in timeout hell. They had to burn 2 in the 1st quarter. They had to use another ahead of a 3rd and 17 play on offense. They lost one to the injury timeout thing at the end. Just like completely disorganized and not on top of things, and sloppy, and a lack of attention to detail that you never saw under Nick Saban.
I think that Florida State's better, but Florida State's probably like an 8-win team too. Maybe 6 to 8, I think, is where I land with them. But Bama, man, it's done. Like the Bama that we know. I think last year we were like, well, they're wavering. Bama doesn't lose to Vanderbilt. Like this is going to be what it is. The high end potential is still there, and in the big games and stuff, I think Bama is going to show up, and we've seen that with Kalen DeBoer. He has an ability to get his teams up and win those big matchups. I mean, Washington beating an Oregon team that was better than them twice on the way to the national championship game. They did that. Beating Texas, they did that. But man. That same team needed like a pick six late to beat a really bad Arizona State team. And this is kind of what we're seeing.
On the Florida State side, look, Tommy Castellanos, like, you have to give it all to him. The dude called his shot against Alabama on a 2-10 team. And he said coming into the year, they don't have Nick Saban to save them. I don't think they can stop me. He stood by that at ACC Media Days.
Yeah.
And then he just backed it up and played great.
He did. He was great. He looked like I think we knew this coming in. He looked like a great fit for the Gus offense. I think they knew that, and that they're going to be able to use him. He's not Cam Newton. He's like the Aldi version of Cam Newton, but he has some of the same skill levels. Obviously, he's not quite as accurate. Doesn't have quite as big an arm. Obviously, not as big of a frame and a body, but he is a perfect fit for the Gus offense. I mean, it's a little bit like you saw him. He was at UCF, but I mean, like the.
That's the thing. Like,
who's the baseball player quarterback at the UCF I'm thinking of? He went to Ole Miss. His name's escaping. He has 3 names.
John Rice Plumlee.
John Rice Plumlee. A little bit of those vibes where it's like, all right, like I don't know that this guy is like the greatest quarterback I've ever seen, but like he's got some stuff and he's gonna make you pay if you're not in your assignments and he's in those read options. He's getting it done.
I was really down on him for the way he left Boston College and just didn't.
He should have been. It was insane.
Didn't think he's the guy to kind of take Clemson, Florida State to the next level. And look, it's one game, but like he looked so comfortable in that offense and doing what he did. There were a couple of moments in the second half where they kind of stalled out a little bit, but dude made plays. Florida State, like they just played so much harder than they did last year. They were flying around out there. And that was a team last year that you could tell they quit on the season. And people around the program basically said the hangover of being left out of the playoff the year prior was still there. And they overhauled that whole thing, the roster, coaches, all that. And that usually doesn't work. It might work here. Very, very impressive. Is there anything else I wanted to say in that game? Kalen DeBoer's buyout, by the way, for people who are
that's always a good conversation.
It's like $65 to $70 million. There is.
Oh, is that it?
I have the contract. There is no offset. So like if he gets another, that's what it is. Paid out in monthly installments. No, you're not doing that right now. But man, it's bad.
If they go 8-4 in year 2, I mean, he's coming into year 3 as sort of it's definitely a make it or break it. I will say. Can we before we move on? Can we silver lining for Alabama fans?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Kalen DeBoer, who's a very good coach, struggling in his first year and game. It does validate the greatness of Nick Saban.
Yes.
If he just kept it rolling, I think there'd be some looking back and being like, well, maybe it's us. Maybe it's not Saban.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I don't think it's silver lining for Alabama fans because it makes you realize you were kind of in a once in a lifetime moment. But Nick Saban had gone on a run nobody had ever seen before in the history of the sport, and he had done it in an era of
way more competitive,
more parity because of scholarship limits and all these types of things and advantages that other coaches back in the past had because they were the only team that was on national television or something like that. Like Nick Saban was just the greatest to ever do it. Yeah, he didn't have a roster of 170 players or something like that. But yeah, like yes, Nick Saban, the greatest of all time. That run was insane. We got to get our friend Damian Harris on here at some point to talk about the state of Alabama because I'm sure he has a lot to say. Alabama is not going to be what it was. So that is that. Speaking of Gus Malzahn and Alabama and whatnot, Auburn 38, Baylor 24. I was at this game and I came away incredibly impressed with Jackson Arnold and Hugh Freeze. And here's my take. Tell me if this is an overreaction. Hugh Freeze has learned from his past mistakes.
That's probably an overreaction.
Here's why. So, you may have noticed Auburn ran the ball a lot and Jackson Arnold scrambled a lot, and they didn't do much of anything in the passing game. So you may be thinking, well, I don't feel much about Auburn until I see what they can do in the passing game. What does it mean? The thing is, Baylor was playing two high safeties the whole game. They were trying to take away Eric Singleton and Cam Coleman, and they did. And so the response to that was to try to, you're going to have to run the ball against a lighter box. And Auburn kept doing that. And Hugh Freeze says after the game, first Jackson Arnold says after the game that he didn't expect to run so much, but he had to kind of swallow his pride in the passing game. I'm sure he came to Auburn thinking, look at these receivers. I can't wait to throw to these dudes. But instead, he didn't force it, and he'd scramble instead, or they'd call direct runs. And Hugh Freeze says after the game, like, yeah, that was actually kind of hard. I, as a play caller, probably forced it a bit early. We have those great wide receivers. It's difficult to not want to just throw it to them, but we had to take what the defense was giving us. And that's a sign of growth for Hugh Freeze, because a year ago, they weren't doing that. They let games against Missouri and Oklahoma slip away because they start getting a little bit too pass happy and stuff like that. And no, you've got really good running game, really good offensive line. Lean on those guys. Auburn, people may not know this, led the SEC in yards per carry last year in conference games. They were the best team at running the ball. But all you remember is Peyton Thorne throwing these backbreaking interceptions or somebody fumbling the ball in a bad spot. That didn't happen here. Now, similar to Texas, Baylor kept fizzling out in the red zone. And if that doesn't happen, perhaps this is a different game. But I came away thinking, I think Auburn's got their quarterback. And I think Hugh Freeze may finally stop overthinking things.
I like it. I think one of the questions I came away from that game, last year, they fire Seth Luttrell midway through the season. The Oklahoma quarterback situation last year makes even less sense, because I don't think I knew that Jackson Arnold had these kind of wheels and the ability to just make defenders pay in space when they're trying to tackle him. What was the point of playing Michael Hawkins last year if Jackson Arnold could run like this? They didn't really do this at any point. They never even tried it.
He ran for more than 100 yards against Bama. Now, those weren't called runs, but that 3 touchdown win against Alabama, he did show some wheels. I had to go back and watch that. I was like, I forgot about that. He was the one doing that. But that
was kind of late in the year. The year was kind of already done at that point.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we'll see how teams, defend them, if they can sort of have a counter to that, because you forget, Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton. I'm not going to get ahead of myself here, but Hugh Freeze is the same guy who had Laquan Treadwell and DK Metcalf at one point. Like, he's done this for a while. So Auburn, I've been in on Auburn all year. I think they're a sleeper for the SEC. I think they're probably an 8-9 win team, and I like what we saw from them. And that's a huge win that puts the numbers in your favor. And we'll see. I think Auburn has a pretty high ceiling this year. I don't know that they're going to be able to get close to that, but the potential is there. If you told me that Auburn finished 10-2 and was sitting there at like the 8 or 9 seed, I'd be like, yeah, maybe I can see it.
I do. The defense gave up a lot of yards. I do wonder if Baylor just has a lot of dudes at wide receiver.
They do.
They had like 200 yards after the catch. Sawyer Robinson,
and Jake Spavital, good OC as well.
Baylor quarterback Sawyer Robinson did not play well. I didn't think Spav called a good game for him either. But when Baylor got the ball in the hands of its receivers in space, they were making plays. So Baylor, we'll see. We'll see. I think a lot of you allowed a kick return touchdown as well. Like, couple of key mistakes, the difference in that game. We'll see. I think I still like I like the ceiling for Baylor, but I think the floor may be a bit lower too. So
yeah, I would agree with that.
A game that you were at.
I've been at a lot of them, Chris. You're gonna have to tell me
one of the games you were at. Tennessee 45, Syracuse 26.
Yeah.
Here's the take. Is it an overreaction? Joey Aguilar is a better fit in this offense than Nico Iamaleava.
I've been on this. You saw it early. Listen, Joey Aguilar is probably not going to have a long NFL career. At this point, I'm not sure Nico will either. But the reality is he's going to cut it loose. And I've spent a lot of time around Tennessee. Talked to Joey Halsley a good bit. I know their offensive staff. And the biggest thing they need is fearless mentality at quarterback. Fired into tight windows. If you see a guy who's got a half step, let it fly over the top. Defenses have to respect your deep ball in this offense. If they don't, the offense is cooked. You have to have the fear of the home run ball at all times. Tennessee did not have that last year against Nico. I think he was a little bit gun shy to pull it, and his accuracy on the deep ball was not great. A lot of overthrows, which Tennessee fans were very excited to see in the Rose Bowl later that night. We saw a couple of those against Utah. But Joey Aguilar, listen, yeah, there's some misses. His accuracy is not fantastic, but the dude is fearless, and I think the amount of interceptions, I'm not going to say that that's a positive coming in, but I think it showed a mentality. And we saw him play at App State the last 2 years. Like, he's not afraid to cut it loose. And guess what? You got better players around you now. The ball that he threw, the deep ball to Braylon Staley, the post route was gorgeous. Tennessee had 2 completions longer than 70 yards all last season. They threw a 74-yard bomb against. I still think Syracuse is going to be pretty good. I think the schedule's not going to let them show it. But Syracuse is not really a team that you want to see in a dark alley. And Tennessee absolutely, I mean, they had no answers for them defensively. Tennessee was basically moving the ball at will yesterday. So Joey Aguilar, yes, definitely a better fit for this offense. And I think they're glad to have him. And he looked pretty comfortable too.
What actually most impressed me in this game, the Tennessee running game, 248 yards, 6.4 yards per carry. You lost Dylan Sampson, and so the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. Wait.
I'm not in on Syracuse's defensive front, but go ahead.
Well, I'm just gonna say, like, I wanted to know if they could still run the ball, and Star Thomas looked really good. Bishop looked good.
He was like the third guy off the bench for them. I thought that was weird. Like, when I was watching him, Star Thomas looked like clearly the best ball carrier, but the other guys have been there. I mean, Deshaun Bishop's a local guy. He's been on the program. He's been in the program for a lot. Peyton Lewis, probably. I didn't love like those guys physically. Like, when they run, you're kind of just like, you're going to get what the line gives you. Star Thomas, I think, gave them a little bit of an additional piece of oomph. And so I'll be interested to see how that rotation shakes out during the year, because when Star Thomas came in, he looked like he had way more pop than the other guys.
Yeah. Syracuse, completely new team. So, like, we still don't know what they are or what they're going to be. But the passing game, Steve Angeli, like, he stayed in there.
He was getting beat up, and he played well.
23 for 40, 274 yards. Jeanty Cook, remember him, receiver, 6 catches, 58 yards. They made some plays. They couldn't run the ball, but they made some plays in the air. Jeff Nixon, the OC there, I really like the job he does. This looks like a Syracuse team that I think is still going to be able to score points when you get into the ACC. And so that'll be...
It's just the schedule is just going to be so brutal for them. We won't go down it. Just look up Syracuse's schedule. It's bad. They play everyone that you would just not want to play in the ACC, plus this Tennessee game. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a difficult situation for them. But, Steve Angeli played well. I think Tennessee, the one thing that you can come away with outside of Joey Aguilar, defensive front. I think they lose Amari Thomas. They lose James Pierce. I think people were kind of throwing dirt on Tennessee's defensive front. They were really, really good yesterday. Pressured, didn't allow the run game. I think they're going to face tougher tests, but Steve Angeli was running for his life all the time. And that Tennessee defensive front, you got to feel really, really good about, because I wasn't really high on them coming into the game. And what I saw, I think that gives them a chance to beat some really good teams in the SEC this year.
Going back to Thursday, USF 34, Boise State 7. My overreaction.
Is it happening, Chris? Is it happening?
This is not necessarily my biggest take, but we'll start with Boise State.
Okay.
I don't think they're out of the playoff race.
Yeah, they are.
And the reason is they don't have to be last year's Boise State. USF has to win the American to get in. You have to win your Group of 5 conference. And based on what I've seen from the Mountain West, there's nothing that's changed my mind about Boise State being the favorite of the Mountain West.
Problem, though, Chris. That's the issue. I think you're overlooking this, and then I think that yes, the Mountain West I think is going to be terrible this year.
Boise State, they've still got Notre Dame. If they're 10-2 at the end of the year, and they're up against a 9-3, 8-4 American team, I don't think Liberty they don't play anybody either, so who knows? But I'm just saying, I'm not saying they're going to make it. I'm not saying they're the favorite. I'm just saying everybody who said Boise State season is done, it's not done, because Group of 5 teams are going to pick up a lot of losses along the way. It just happens all the time. Boise, I have not seen this bad of a Boise State performance since I can remember. They did almost nothing right. They couldn't block for the run. They couldn't get explosive plays. Maddox Madsen was missing guys. They were allowing explosive plays. Turnovers were a mess. Special teams were again a problem, which they were last year. USF just dominated this game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought at halftime, we were in one of our group chats, and I was like, I don't think USF is playing all that great. I think Boise State is playing terrible. They kept going for fourth down and missing it in the red zone. And I'm like, I think Boise's just playing bad. But the second half, then UCF really got it going.
Yeah.
And they took that game from Boise State. And this is a veteran team that Alex Golish has been pointing to kind of year 3 is when everything comes together. And man, like they look good. It's still a long way to go to determine the American because, spoiler alert, the American's got some pretty good teams. But
really good league this year.
USF's going to be one of them. And that was a statement game.
Chris, the next 2 weeks, USF at Florida, at Miami.
Yes.
Hmm? What do we think?
I think they're going to lose both those games.
Which is fine. What percent chance is that they steal one? They steal one and really get people talking.
That they win one of them? I'd say maybe like 15, 20%.
Okay, that's about where I was. Maybe 20, 25. Yeah, that's about right. You catch them on the right day. You play the right game. I mean, I think Miami probably a little more likely than Florida, maybe, but we'll see. I just think, Chris, with the Mountain West being so down, I don't think Boise has a chance against Notre Dame, and we'll see what else is out there. How good is App State? I don't know. They looked okay on Friday. I was at that game too. The issue is I don't think their resume is going to be very good because the Mountain West this might be the worst Mountain West year in quite some time, and the American looks stacked. So,
yeah. Now we'll move to Miami's 27-24 win over Notre Dame on Sunday night. This was a kind of a weird game. Miami was kind of in control for most of it. Notre Dame comes back, gets a little weird at the end, but they hold on. My take for an overreaction here, maybe. Miami looks like a national championship caliber team in terms of their talent. Am I wrong?
Yeah. Did you watch the game management? This is why I don't trust Miami. Mario Cristobal, listen, you can't play these dangerous games over and over and over again. How many times we need to see this? It's why I don't trust Miami. Look, Mario Cristobal, offensive line coach, they've got clearly another strong offensive line. Defensively, they looked much better. But some of these decisions on the stretch, these are the decisions that influence games. He got away with it tonight. But turtle shelling when you're up 21-7 and letting Notre Dame sneak into the game. And then you get literally just within field goal range. It's like, all right, we're good. We passed the green line on TV. We're gonna have what I believe they called a unsettled quarterback or unsettled kicker situation, i.e., our kickers are not very good. We already had a muff snap. We're going to settle for a 48-yarder to win the game with a minute left where if you miss it, there's a pretty good shot you lose. That's poor game management. That's why I don't trust this Miami team at all because of Mario Cristobal.
So the talent level, though, I think they looked really good. I think they have pieces everywhere. They look really good in the trenches. My feeling is they have national championship caliber talent, which I kind of maybe thought a year ago too, maybe not so much on the defense.
I want to see more weapons offensively.
But they lost games they shouldn't have lost. And so in this game, you have to waste a timeout for the first punt return of the season because you lined up or didn't get people out there or something. You get a delay of game before the first play of the second half after you receive the kickoff. You run the ball 3 times for a very long field goal that the guy actually makes.
Decisions.
I wondered if Cristobal thought that Notre Dame only had 2 timeouts and not 3, because I do not understand running the ball on 3rd and 4 when you're already struggling to pick up 3rd and 2. You run it on 3rd and 4, and they showed a camera shot of him, and he looked kind of confused. So I wondered if he missed.
Never good.
I wondered.
I don't care about the timeouts, though. I don't care about the timeouts. Run your offense.
I do. Yes, but it was doubly bad because you were playing for a long field goal, which was shaky from your kicker, but you were also giving Notre Dame a minute to work with, which is a crazy amount of time. That's why I wondered that. Now, the other part of this, you're paying Carson Beck like $3-4 million a year to just hand the ball off on the biggest plays of the game. If you don't trust him to make the plays, what are you even doing then? So that's the negative on that. I thought Miami overall, though, as a team, looked really good. They whipped that Notre Dame offensive line that came in as
Yeah.
the number 1 ranked offensive line from everybody. They end the game with 2 straight sacks. They just completely blow by the right tackle twice. I thought the offensive line mostly held up. They had that one really long drive where they just run it, touchdown. There were some misses here or there, but all the hype coming in this Miami team was how good they were in the trenches, and that pretty much lived up to it. I thought Carson Beck looked pretty comfortable. Found a couple of weapons. CJ Daniels makes a crazy catch. So I don't know. I come out of this very encouraged about Miami in terms of their ceiling, but I am concerned about the game management stuff. How much of that is week 1, you're figuring it out, and how much of it is this always seems to happen with Cristobal?
These are coaching decisions. It's not operational stuff. And this was pretty basic game management stuff. I really, man, it was not good. It was not good.
If Florida State and Miami are both like really good, like they might be, that could be fun. Miami has to play Florida.
I'm not all in on Florida State being that good, but I will say they found something in Malachi Toney. Really good player.
Yes,
the freshman. He's. I mean, I don't know if we're going to use. I'm not going to say special yet, but clearly a big time guy.
Yes, and I thought Mark Fletcher, the running back, actually had a lot of bursts. He was
nice
hitting
game
some
for
holes.
him.
So good win for Miami. The other game on Sunday, South Carolina beats Virginia Tech 24-11. David, you were there back in Atlanta for this one. My reaction to this game, I'm a little bit worried about South Carolina's got a very high ceiling with some freaks, but I'm a little concerned about other parts of it. I'm concerned about the pieces they lost. Is that an overreaction?
No, I think so. I think part of this is we don't really know what Virginia Tech is. They've been really hard to figure because they lose the opener to Vandy last year, and everybody's like, they lose to Vandy, you're going to get roasted for that. The Vandy ends up being pretty good. And Virginia Tech was a lot better than their record showed last year. They lost a bunch of close games.
Brent Pry, the coach, is 1-12 in 1-score games as head coach. This ended up not being a 1-score game, but it was for most of the game. It was like 10-8 going into the 4th or something.
So, offensively, some problems after that opening script with Mike Shula. They absolutely tore into Virginia Tech's defense, and then from then on, they just couldn't really find anything. Their whole offense was basically Lenora Sellers like running around, which he's quite good at. His ability to move at his size, 240 pounds. I mean, he looked like he's faster than he was last year.
Shiftier, even harder to tackle than he was last year.
Like noticeably. That was my first time seeing him in person. I was pretty impressed. I think I still have some questions about him as a passer. But the bomb to Nick Harbor, speaking of freaks, was a pretty nice throw. And I kind of agree with you. I don't know that I trust this team because the overall roster is not there. But, you have Dylan Stewart, you have Lenore Sellers, you have Nick Harbor, you have these guys that are just like physically unbelievable. And that does give you, like, South Carolina can win the SEC. I feel very confident in saying that. But I also think they can go 8-4. So,
yeah. Virginia Tech, up until the end, Virginia Tech was giving this game away. It was brutal. They had the interception thrown in the end zone.
The drops were really bad.
They had several bad drops. They missed a wide open swing pass on a 3rd down. They punt, but there's an illegal formation penalty, so you have to punt again. Then it becomes a punt return touchdown. Like they managed the clock poorly in the first half. This game, like for 3 quarters, South Carolina was like, you can take this, Virginia Tech. And Virginia Tech was not taking it. Tech's defense, I thought, played really well. They were getting a lot of pressure on South Carolina and getting pretty much nothing in the running game. So is that a South Carolina thing? Is that a Virginia Tech thing? It's week 1. We don't know. But I think we also noticed that top-end talent that South Carolina has can win you a game if nothing else is going right. Nick
literally
Harbor,
those 3 guys literally did win the game today. Plus the punt return. I will say our guy Ben Bell, Texas State transfer, had a really nice game on that Virginia Tech front. He was good today. Kyron Drones, very fun, not great, all over the place. probably
if he's
fearless
throwing on the run, there's no chance. You don't know where the ball's going.
I enjoyed watching him, but I'm also not a Virginia Tech fan, and I have to think that there are a lot of Virginia Tech fans listening that probably did not enjoy that, but I did. So hey, that's what counts, right?
So Nick Harbor, 3 catches, 99 yards, including the 64-yard touchdown. Also had what looked like a touchdown called back on a very strange review, just like the LSU play. He caught the ball, took 3 steps. I swear to God, hits the ground, kind of loses it, and they review it, say no catch. I guess
he also had a pretty bad drop on a drag route early that would have been a huge gain.
He did, but so he's the track speed guy who's 6'5". And if you play College Football 26 online at all, you have come across many a player who used South Carolina to run around the North-Sellers and just throw it deep to Nick Harbor. That's all they do. Now, should that be South Carolina's offense moving forward? I mean, maybe. It kind of seems to work in this one. But if Nick Harbor...
He's a little stiff. He's a little stiff, but dude, just guys that are that size with his speed, it's like having watched him in person today and kind of watching him warm up for the first time, right next to him, I just am like, this is crazy. Like I've just never seen anything like that before. When you watch him move and how quick he actually is in like when he's really picking up speed in person, it's just different. I don't know what to tell you. It's just different. It doesn't pop on TV as much as it does in person.
He is now a junior, so he's been doing this for a bit. They're still trying to figure out if he becomes the guy they think he can. It hasn't happened yet, but probably a encouraging start there for Virginia Tech. I don't know. I thought your defense played great offensively. I don't know. Maybe South Carolina will be really good, and we'll see. So run through some other games of note real quick here. Utah beat UCLA 43-10.
Called it. I said on Thursday's show they're going to win this game by 20. I'd like to apologize to Utah. I was not familiar with your game. That's work. I mean, listen, I think UCLA is going to be kind of a disaster this year. I think it's going to go very poorly. I think Nico's a really bad fit for them. Obviously thought that was a really bad decision. For one, leaving Tennessee is one thing. Costing yourself a couple million is another thing. But if your case for it is like beyond the family wanting to get home stuff, which is, Nico's family was living in Tennessee. So, okay. So beyond that, if your complaint is, well, I don't like what I have around me, and then you go to UCLA, I have some very bad news for you.
Yeah, Nico finished 11 for 22, 136 yards, a touchdown. Devin Dampier, the Utah quarterback, 21 for 25, 206, 2 touchdowns, 87 yards on the ground. Everything you could have wanted.
I'm feeling good about my Utah to the playoff. Utah wins the Big 12 after going 5-7. I've been in on them for a while. I think it makes a ton of sense on paper, and we saw it in reality. Utah's got an offense, just like LSU's got a defense. We haven't seen those things for a while, and good luck to the rest of you.
Elsewhere in the Big 12, Kansas State beats North Dakota 38-35 on a last-second touchdown.
Are we hitting the panic button with K-State, or is this a Ireland hangover? Too much Guinness.
The problem is Iowa State beat South Dakota. I forgot the final score. They destroyed South Dakota.
Yeah, it was not close. They were up like 35-0 or something. I think I saw early.
55-7 over a South Dakota team that is a top 5 FCS team coming into the season.
It's a good win.
North Dakota, they're the one not good Dakota. They were 5-7 last year. So Kansas State struggling against them. Dylan Edwards didn't play. I am very much panicking on Kansas State right now.
I'm not going to panic yet because at the end of the day, they have a loss to a really good Iowa State team. And then I'll give you a mulligan on the post-Ireland game. But I wasn't that high on K-State coming into the year, and so we'll see. I'm worried about them.
I just haven't seen anything that I like.
Yeah.
Tulane, 23, Northwestern 3. Destroyed them. They were a 6-point favorite. Jake Retzlaff, the quarterback from BYU, ran for over 100 yards. Passing game was not great, but he ran for over 100 yards.
Had a 69-yard touchdown run. That was a great play. The defense.
The defense forced 5 turnovers from Preston Stone, the Northwestern quarterback.
Earmuffs, Preston.
4 interceptions. Tulane, again, when we're talking about the American looks like it may have a loaded type of year.
Tulane's my playoff pick.
Rice 14, Louisiana 12. It's not very often that Cajuns are having trouble with Rice, but we've been talking about Rice all off season. Scott Abel comes from Davidson, runs a really unique triple options spread type of thing. And it's not like they move the ball super well, but they held the ball. That's a Louisiana team that played in the Sun Belt Championship last year and was expected to again. And Rice starting off 1-0, that's a big way to start your tenure. Shout out to them. Fresno State 42, Georgia Southern 14. Another stunner. Tough kind of weekend for the Sun Belt. Fresno State, which had gotten rocked by Kansas the week prior, showing more than a pulse.
I know. I came away from that thinking like, okay, Kansas, like this is okay. We'll see. I think Kansas is going to push for the Big 12, but we'll see.
In Georgia Southern, a team we think will be right there for the Sun Belt East title with JMU. Not Clay Helton, not great. There, by the way, Georgia Southern staying out in California for the week because they play USC next. Clay Helton's going back.
Speaking of retread Power 5 coaches, Chris.
Austin Peay 34, Middle Tennessee and Derek Mason 14.
Can I say something, Chris? Other than Florida State Bama, this might have been the most shocking result of the whole weekend.
I was going to say Fresno State, but yeah, this is right up there too.
I mean, listen, Derek Mason, I think Middle Tennessee State's a proud program. Rick Stock still had it cooking there. They were always seem to have like a baseline, and I'm concerned. Listen, you're hitting kind of the reset button. We'll see how it goes, but anytime you're losing by multiple scores to an FCS team, I don't care how good they are and what division you play in the FBS, that's a problem. The
problem is like because Rick Stockstill was like doing okay but not great there, and the fans wanted to run him out of town. But they couldn't buy him out because he had a ridiculously favored contract. All the conference realignment money gives Middle Tennessee the ability to buy him out. Yeah. And they use it to hire Derek Mason, who was already not liked in the region because of Vanderbilt. So it's been a disaster. It's going to be a disaster. Iowa 34, Albany 7. Putting this here because Mark Gronowski, the South Dakota State transfer quarterback, 8 for 15, 44 passing yards.
Yeah, I've been out on this all year. I didn't understand any of the hype. Everybody's like, "Oh, Iowa, we got our guy." I'm like, yeah.
So we'll see on that, but Iowa looked like Iowa. Oklahoma 35, Illinois State 3. John Mateer looked good, but I'm putting this here because Oklahoma only had 103 rushing yards, 3.2 yards per carry. That's not great. You've got Michigan next week. We'll see. Michigan played with its food a little bit, but was able to ultimately handle New Mexico. I'm going to say
Bryce Underwood looked better than I thought.
He looked good. You can see the dude ability. He had some throws and they were like, "Oh, okay." Like you can see number one recruit. So that'll be a good one next week. I will be there. And last game here, Kent State 21, Merrimack 17. The Golden Flash,
baby.
The Golden Flashes end their 21 game losing streak that was almost 2 years old. You gotta feel good for the kids on that team who have been through a lot. You go through a winless team, a winless season last year. Your coach gets fired because of his credit cards. Your defense coordinator leaves for a position job in North Dakota State. You have a lead, you give up the lead in this game, and then the realist Clark gives you a 100-yard kick return touchdown that is ultimately the difference. Shout out to Kent State. I'm glad you got to win. Every time I do the 136 rankings and I'm going through everybody's record to update it, I always want everybody to get a win, man. You don't want someone to have a winless season. That just sucks. So I'm very glad that the Kent State players have something to talk about. And with that, we are going to go to our helmet stickers. This is where we give a shout out to a player who maybe went a little bit under the radar, but had a great performance that we wanted to highlight. Now I'm going to go with Cal 5-star freshman quarterback.
Here we go, Chris.
Jaron Songapula-Tele.
All right, that's pretty good. That was good.
He comes in as the 5-star guy, like we said, and this is a dude. He was delivering dimes in a 34-15 win over Oregon State. Finishes 20 for 30, 234 yards, 3 touchdowns. I was watching this game late in my bed And I was like, this guy looks like it. You talk about how, like you said earlier in the show, the elite quarterbacks, you can sometimes see it right away.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I see it. Like, this is a guy who was committed to Cal, then flips to Oregon, signs with Oregon, gets out of the letter of intent to go back to Cal, and they look pretty good. So
I talked to him at ACC Media Days. They brought him, first of all, which is interesting. They brought him and Devin Brown. I talked to him, and he was a nice kid. And you can sort of feel it for him. And though some of those balls, man, he was floating them in there. The ball placement, that stuff, like where you can see the touch and understanding the game for a true freshman, that's pretty special. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on this kid.
Who's
Here's
your
my
helmet
helmet sticker. I'm going to go give it to the walking wear and tear meter, our guy, Haynes King. We're not going to talk about the passing numbers in the win over Colorado, but we're going to talk about 19 carries, 156 yards, and 3 touchdowns, including the game winner on the last drive. Chris, should he have gone down there? You think? He was looking back at the sideline. He wasn't sure if he should score. I kind of thought he should go down, but he goes ahead and scores, and Colorado botches that final drive. Listen, Haynes King, Georgia Tech is one of the most fun teams to watch, and they're probably the only team in the country that when their offense devolves into looking like it's straight out of the 1970s, it gets a lot better. Yeah. And I think Brent Key loves that. He's our guy, run the ball, and they did that. And the funny thing about this is I really, really like Jamal Haynes. He's a really good player. Colorado kind of bottled him up, but Haynes King kind of makes this whole thing go. And man, when they just start going into battering ram Haynes King mode, which he wasn't really that guy at Texas A&M. He is really fun to watch. And shout out to Georgia Tech. They're a team. They were one of those back alley teams that, like, I don't think we're going to see Georgia Tech in the playoff, but they're a team that you just don't really want to see because you're going to be sore after and they can beat you. And the list of teams that they can beat, I should say, the list of teams that Georgia Tech can't beat is pretty small. And so I'm excited. Shout out to Haynes King, my helmet sticker. A salute to you. Ice up, son.
So now let's talk about the game tonight, Monday night. I want to save this for the end so the pod has kind of a longer tail. TCU-North Carolina. You will be there. The 6th stop on your journey. We'll talk about travel in a moment. My biggest question coming into this game, will Bill Belichick and Steve Belichick be able to mix things up on defense and mess with Josh Hoover, the very talented TCU quarterback? Can they get in his head? This isn't like when Colorado played TCU a couple of years ago. That was TCU breaking in a new quarterback, new receivers. There's a lot of new faces. This is a veteran quarterback now. How will Bill Belichick attack him, or is Josh Hoover going to be able to throw it all over the field like we've seen him do before?
Yeah, and I think there's a mental aspect of this. The mystery of it is I wrote about this. It's a challenge. But I think coming off of the national championship team, I think, talking to Sonny Dex, talking to some of those guys, I think there was definitely some entitlement of guys feeling like, well, I was on that team, even though I played 80 snaps that season. So I helped, I'm on a national championship team. And they got woken up real early. And I think this TCU team is probably in a different headspace, certainly hungrier. I think they will have a talent advantage in this game, a physicality advantage. I really don't know what North Carolina is going to be on the lines, especially on the defense. I mean, they lost all their best players on the lines. They're all those guys are very highly paid at Texas Tech or Ohio State or Penn State. They're all over the place. So they lost a lot of pieces that a lot of really good programs with a lot of money wanted. So that's my biggest question, is if North Carolina can hold up on the lines. If they do, I think this team can scheme up some stuff and win this ball game. But if you can't block it and you can't protect and you can't get pressure and you can't stop the run, whatever you do isn't really going to matter. So I think this game, not to be not for the Cole Kublik of it all, the great ESPN analyst, but this game's decided on the lines, I think. In some ways, all games are, but I think this one really especially is.
Well, I think in week 1 it really was too. TCU is a 3.5 point favorite. I have picked TCU. What is your pick?
I think TCU. I want to see it with Belichick. I double checked. I went and talked to some sources this week, and it turns out that Tom Brady is not playing in this game. So if Belichick doesn't have Tom Brady, I think there's the questions about what that looks like are fair, because when he left, it did fall off with the Patriots, and well, I think you understand some things schematically. I things look a lot better when you have a bunch of all pros, and the amount of talent that they had on those great Patriots teams, especially relative to the teams that they were playing, was different. There wasn't a lot of times that I felt like they were playing at a huge talent disadvantage. I don't know if this will be a huge one, but a big one. So I'll reluctantly take the Horned Frogs. I think it's a more experienced team, a more together team. And I don't feel great about it, but I'm going to go with the Horned Frogs here.
Yeah, I'd feel better if it was maybe 3 points too, but that scene at North Carolina, I think, is going to be really fun. Monday night, everybody's watching. North Carolina's record ticket sales and all that stuff. They can get really excited there for football, and I think that's going to be a very cool scene, and we'll see how they handle it. So those are all the games. Now, a couple things we wanted to get to real quick. Lee Corso, the legend, his farewell. I thought it was so brilliantly well done by ESPN. He comes out wearing a tuxedo. He says he wanted to go out in style.
So good.
I love that they brought Chris Fowler back, and then him and Street are just like sharing stories about Lee with him. That was really cool. It was a real solid mix of previewing the weekend and the games, but also honoring Lee Corso. And I think ultimately doing this week one ended up being the perfect way to do it, because if you had done it like if you had done it at the end of the season, national championship, you're at a neutral site. It's not the same. You want him on campus.
Well, you probably have to do it like rivalry week or whatever, like the last real episode of Game Day. But even that is like,
but you'd still have. So it was kind of weird doing it at the beginning of the season. So we got weeks to talk about it and celebrate him. Was great. The Ohio State band spelling out Corso for the final pick, and he gets that right. The only other thing that would have been better is if he dotted the I or something like that. I wondered if that was coming when they had the setup. So that was very cool. And Corso goes 6 for 6 on his picks. The legend goes out. The only one to pick the Florida State Seminoles. It's his school. How can you go? Like, I legit got emotional thinking about how Corso must have felt for Florida State to win that game, because it's his alma mater and he's the only one to pick him. It's his last time ever picking them, and they win like that. That was awesome, man. Top ESPN, Fox was involved too. Top-notch job from everybody. Lee Corso, salute you, an absolute legend. And I think they did a good job of highlighting why Lee was Lee, why he is college football. I got up at, so I was on 3 hours of sleep. I got up at 7:30 to get ready to watch game day because I wanted to see the whole thing, and it was worth it. Dave, what'd you think?
It was awesome. I think I feel a lot of the same way you do. I just feel like they tonally hit the right spots. The tuxedo was perfect just because, like, there is a formality to it, and also it's completely ridiculous and stupid. That's so Lee Corso. So salute you. Thanks, Coach. Man, it's gonna be tough without him. There's not a lot of things that I think when they're truly gone you consistently miss. Right now, I think it's the Pac-12, but Corso and the Pac-12 are gonna be the two things I think that every Saturday for a long time I'm just going to really feel the void.
I know they've done plenty of shows without him. It's going to be weird to never see the mascot head pick done again. I kind of think they should continue it, like, as a way to honor Lee. Like,
I go back and forth on it. I don't know. I don't know. I
like call it
so
like
I think this goes back to
here's what you do. You get to the last pick and you call it the Lee Corso head pick, and you have McAfee or whoever do it. I know people don't like McAfee, but he does a good job with the crowd. And if he did it to honor Lee Corso, which I think he would, I think that'd be a lot of fun. I understand if they don't, though.
Did you see what Arkansas did this year with jerseys, Chris?
No.
So they didn't retire Darren McFadden's jersey, but anybody who wears number 5 at Arkansas, there's like a little custom, like, Darren McFadden logo on the jersey.
Michigan did this.
I like this way more than retiring jerseys, because I think it has to be a pretty high bar. I don't think true freshmen should be able to wear it. I think you got to be a contributor. But I like keeping the jersey numbers alive, but on them, giving reverence to guys that came before you and honoring those guys. So in that way, like I love that way more than retiring jerseys. So in that way, I sort of understand the mascot pick. That like I kind of do want it to continue just because it's so stupid and it's really entertaining. But also, I just feel like it would be cheapened and not really the same, and kind of the antithesis of everything Corso was, which was really authentic and really original. And so I'm torn. I'm torn on it. It would be like reading the cliff notes of Tolstoy or something, and feeling like you actually comprehended what the book was actually written for.
Tip for Arkansas: don't do what Michigan did and honor Tom Harmon's number 98 and put it on your quarterback. I'll never forget Devin Gardner wearing number 98 because he wore the Tom Harmon jersey.
More schools should do this. Stop retiring jerseys and honor the guys that had those.
But
jerseys.
honor normal numbers. That was the most ridiculous jersey number setup I've ever seen, and I think we ever will. So as we get near the end of this pod, it's time to talk about our travel this weekend.
Still
Dave,
ongoing travel?
You're the headline. You're speaking right now from a car from a McDonald's after South Carolina, Virginia Tech.
I think I'm somewhere in Greenville, South Carolina. I think
you're in South Carolina right now. You will have done 6 games in 6 days.
6 games in 5 days, Chris. Get it
5
right.
days. Sorry. How have you held up?
Listen, I committed to it. We're doing it. I'm tired. The first couple days were pretty uneventful, but Friday night I got to my hotel at about 3:30. Driving back I went to the App State Charlotte game in Charlotte.
Yeah, give us this to repeat. Give us the 6 games.
So if you hadn't listened, I started my week very simply in Raleigh, North Carolina. Drove from Charlotte to Raleigh, went to NC State ECU. Pretty good game. I knew what was coming, so I didn't drive back that night. Stayed in Raleigh. Go ahead.
Also, you learned at NC State, no in-person press conferences.
Yeah, NC State does Zoom press conferences at home. Stop doing this. What are we doing? That's insane.
In 2025.
You can't do any. I wasn't writing off of that game, but you can't do anything worthwhile. This is a side conversation. Ridiculous. They stopped doing it. I don't. They said they repurposed an area in the team facility, and just when COVID came and they didn't bring it back. I've never heard of any other team doing this since 2023, 2022. Anyway, stayed in Raleigh, came back to Charlotte, was able to come back home, kind of hang out with the family during the afternoon, then went to uptown Charlotte, and went to App State Charlotte, the only G5 game on my trip. And then when that game was done, booked it down to Atlanta.
Dominant App State win, by the way. They look good.
Yeah, Dowell Loggins, great debut. No Lenore Sellers, but he does have AJ Swan. They played really, really well in that game. No Kanye Roberts for them also. He's out for the year. They looked pretty good. Anyway, came down to Atlanta for Tennessee-Syracuse. Got to my hotel. I knew Friday night was going to be the tough one because I got to the hotel at 3:30, but I had to be up early. So I get up 8:30-ish, get down to Mercedes-Benz for Tennessee-Syracuse, leave that game and book it up to Clemson. And this is where we start having issues. So obviously I wanted to get there for kickoff. I get there, get to the media lot, but because I got there at 6:45 for a 7:30 kickoff, media lot's full. So I'm like, okay. Now I had not been to a game at Clemson, but the media lot is very far from the stadium, so they have golf cart shuttles basically. So they redirect me to this other lot a mile and a half away, and I'm like, well, is there going to be shuttles? Because for one, I know it's getting close to game time, but for two, I also don't really want to walk. I'm tired. I'm carrying my crap. It's a long way. These sound like first world problems, but we are working, so I don't particularly want to have exercise time at this point. So yeah, you'll be fine. So I go all the way to this lot. We are a mile and a half probably from the stadium. And I pull into the lot and I'm like, hey, media overflow? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, are the golf carts coming out here? And Chris, you would have thought I asked him if the space shuttle to Pluto was coming out there, because they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, okay. Well, so then I go park my car. I come back. I'm like, so there's no golf carts coming? And he's like, I don't know what that, I haven't seen a golf cart. I was like, well, if there were golf carts, where would they be? I haven't seen it. At this point, I'm recognizing I'm just going to have to start hoofing it. It's a good 1.5 miles from the stadium. I mean, it's a long way. But I don't have a choice. I can't wait for people. So I just go. I am drenched in sweat. I was sitting next to our colleague, Seth Emerson. I saw Ari and Andy down there. They were probably mocking me because I was like, it was full sweat. I'm a member of the sweating community, if you didn't know that. So I'm already like a really heavy sweater just in general. It was a problem. So anyway, game, do all that stuff. We wrote, did all that stuff. LSU, by the way, their equipment truck destroyed a gate at Clemson on the way out. The gate wasn't up high enough. So anyway, that was very funny. So I come out and I'm like writing and I'm like, well, that was tough, but like I know we're gonna have because there's shuttles running back to the media lot. So I go out there. I talk to a Clemson official. I'm like, hey, is there a shuttle coming? And they're like, oh, they're not running anymore. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm in a media overflow lot. I'm not in the actual media lot, which is already kind of a far walk, but like more doable. And so I'm like, well, I'm in lot 16. And they're like, where is that? So she pulls up a campus map, can't find it. I'm like, no, it's over here. I'm on the total other side of the stadium at this point. Has to zoom out, go near the highway. She visibly winced when she saw where the parking lot was. She goes, oh. And I'm like, is there anyone that can take me there? And she's like, no, this is at 1:30 in the morning. I got to drive back to Atlanta. It's like 2 more hours.
Oh,
long story short, I've just got to hook it back to the car. Chris, how long do you think it took me to get back to my car?
30 minutes?
36 minutes.
Yeah.
36-minute walk carrying my crap back to my car. So I'm drenched in sweat again. It's very humid in South Carolina. Get back to my hotel in Atlanta at like 3:45. Get to sleep probably 4:15. Take a shower. Number 2 shower in my lifetime, by the way. Number 1 was when I went to Bonnaroo after my freshman year of college, and we just stayed in a tent, and I didn't get to shower for 3 days. I just sweat for 3 days straight. So that was the number 1 shower of all time. This was probably number 2.
That's a good shower. A double sweat, that's a good shower.
It's an unbelievable shower. So anyway, get to bed. I'm able to sleep in a little bit. We recorded the show Sunday morning. And then at that point, like I got to go to the Benz for Virginia Tech and South Carolina. Finish that game. I had to write a little bit after that. This will all be on a video, by the way. Our video team is doing a lot of this. I was basically stream of consciousness talking to the camera while I was walking back. There's some dark stuff in there. I'm afraid of what's going to be on that video. I was in a pit of despair just wrestling with the fact that I knew this was going to be terrible. Anyway, finish that game. I'm driving back home now. We stopped to record so we could have the show in your feeds Monday morning. And then I will be at Chapel Hill tonight. So
okay, so
it's been a lot.
It was a lot of work, but was it fun to be at?
It's been really fun. You'll be able to read about this. I think Tuesday we're running it right after the North Carolina game. It has been physically taxing, but it has been really fun and really enjoyable. A great way to kick off the season mentally, but the season's hard enough physically. Going all out week 1, my wear and tear meter, I'm just red all over my body right now.
High risk of injury right now.
Exactly. So Chris, you're now anti-electric vehicle, right? That's what I hear.
Yeah. So I went down. Baylor is 2.5 hours south of me with traffic. So I get
you're
the
really
rental
far
car
north of the Metroplex. So
yeah, I get the rental car midday Friday and head down, and I'm like halfway down before I realize, oh, this is an electric car. I didn't know that. I've never driven one. How did
you not recognize it was electric? If you had texted me that you had gotten an electric car, because I had one once for a rental, I would have told you, go back and get another one.
So I didn't I'd never had one before, and it looked like pretty much a normal, nice car. And it wasn't. I was just looking at the meter. It tells you kind of how many miles you have, and I realized I'm not going to be able to make it there and back.
Yeah, it's like 150 miles, something like that.
No, it had like 290, 300 miles range, which is pretty good. But
that is a lot.
On my way down though, I stop at Check Stop. I did it for you.
Thank you, Chris.
I got an apple kolache and a cinnamon roll. They were delicious.
You've had them before?
No, actually, I've never. Every time I've gone, I've always been in a hurry, and I haven't had time.
Oh,
to
can we
stop.
get a quick check stop review, Chris? I miss those kolaches.
Very cool. For people who don't know, it's just a little bakery in a Shell gas station, but it's been around for a very long time. It's Czech Republic, type
there's
of
a
food.
huge Czech community in the city of West Texas. It's very weird. Not
Yes.
western part of
There's
Texas,
a couple.
but like there's two of them. Yeah.
And there's a couple spots, but I stopped there on the way down and got that delicious. I get into the stadium. The stadium, by the way, McLean Stadium at Baylor,
It's awesome.
Wonderful stadium.
Super nice.
Great. It's about like
Super
10,
nice.
13 years old. Really nice stadium, really great
The
setup. For
prettiest
the media.
toilet you will ever see in your life.
I saw the river and the boats and all that. Very scenic, very cool. The environment was great. Auburn played really well, as we talked about earlier. And so I leave. I get out of the stadium at 12:30 at night, and I realize, okay, it's going to be about 2-hour drive. I'll get back at 2:30, but I'm going to have to stop and charge. That might take 20, 30 minutes based on what I generally know. So I'm like, okay, and I'm going, and I'm like, all right, time to find something. I pull up my phone, search EV charger, a bunch of things pop up. I go, and I go to this hotel, and I park it and plug it in, and it says like 6 hours to full.
Yeah, there's different kinds of chargers.
Wait,
there's like a 30-minute faster one. Anyway, go ahead.
So I didn't know this. So it's just charging and not doing any. Moving very slow. Every 5 minutes, I'm gaining like 1 mile of range. And I'm like, this is a problem. I need to get home. My wife's not home this week, and all the dogs are alone there. And so I end up sitting there for about 45 minutes trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do.
Oh my god.
Okay. So I'm looking up, all right, can I do a Tesla supercharger? Can my car do that? No, it turns out you need the adapter to do the Tesla supercharger. It's like, okay, well, now I can't do that one. How do I find a fast charger? How do I know which ones have a higher voltage that I need? Took a lot of searching on my phone to finally find a Blink one that's in off the highway in a car dealership. So I eventually get there, and I have to sit there for another about 30, 45 minutes to get up to where I needed enough to get home and then drop it off the next day. And I tweeted a video. Like, it is such the rental car place didn't tell me it was an EV, and they didn't tell me what to do with an EV. I like the idea of electric cars, and I can totally see the usage for it, especially if the range is better. But we don't have the education and the infrastructure right now.
No,
to do
for
this.
rentals, it's crazy.
For rentals, it's crazy. If you're someone who has a charger at your home and you just charge your car overnight every time, you're fine 99% of the time.
Yes.
But to give it out as a rental car is crazy to me.
Rental car companies, stop doing this. You should not. This should literally be illegal.
So I get home at 4 a.m. and I get to bed at 4:30 because all the dogs and everything I have to clean up. And I'm getting up at 7:30 because I got to watch all of College Game Day because I'm doing a story next week on it. And so I do the live show last night, stream of consciousness, just like, but it was fun. And as I dropped the car off on Saturday, she said, like, how was it? I said, it was terrible. You guys need to tell people if you're giving someone an electric car and make sure they know what they're doing and where to go and what to do. And she was like, oh, well, the company just does that for they only give them for single day rentals, I guess. I was like, okay, but like I picked a compact car. I didn't pick an EV, and you guys sprung an EV on me. I'm renting a car from that same place for the same amount of time this coming Sunday for the Oklahoma game. So I'm making sure that I'm not going to get an EV this time.
Yeah, I did. I had it once in Boulder, and I ran into a lot of the same issues that you did. At like the end of the night, like if your hotel doesn't have a charging station, like driving from Denver to Boulder and back and stuff, like it was a problem. And I said, like, never again, because I didn't really know where the chargers were or the superchargers. And a lot of people that own them know where the superchargers are, and they take up those spots at night. Like I'd go to like a grocery store, and they would all be full. And I'm like, it's like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, I gotta go to sleep.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like there was only all the places I went. The place I went for that had the chargers with the extra boost. There was only 2 spots. And one of them was taken. This is at 3 a.m. One of them was taken, and that guy was sleeping in his car. So, like, if there were 2 of those, I would have been like completely out of luck. So, just again, I like electric cars and the whole thing. Just like
same, not as
we got to educate people about this to make sure it works. So that's the end of mine. Ultimately, had a good time on the trip. Baylor was awesome. Game was good. Still catching up on the sleep. But we do this because we love college football. And you going to those games, me getting to attend a game for the first time this season, going to a big one next week where College Game Day will be. That's ultimately what it's all about is getting to games in person as much as you can, enjoying that you never know what the heck is going to happen in college football. Florida State's back, folks. The U is back. Arch Manning's a bust. Clemson's never going to play for a national championship again. Maybe, or maybe not. Maybe we're just overreacting. But that's the joy of college football week to week. You never know what's going to happen. We got one more game this week. It has been a blast. We've had 4 top 10 teams lose. The rankings are going to be nuts. I love this sport, man. Like from Corso to Florida State to Clemson coming down the field and ABC showing that to Miami doing whatever the heck it was doing at the end of that game. Like you just never know what's going to happen in the sport. And that's why I love it so much. And with all that, we will now close the show the way we always do. And that is by remembering some guys.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
I'm going to go with a well-known name, but a name we saw on the field on Saturday, and that is former Florida State wide receiver Peter Warrick. This dude was a beast in the late 90s for Florida State, one of the best college receivers we've ever seen. Became the number 4 for all NFL draft pick. But he was there at the game this weekend. There's an unbelievable picture. I don't know if you've seen it. Of I think it was Thomas Castellanos like celebrating, and you have Peter Warrick like cheering him on in the background. Like that was a cathartic victory for Florida State after everything that they've had to deal with over the last year and a half plus. Yeah. And Peter Warrick, unbelievable dude at wide receiver. Dude could catch anything. Didn't exactly have him in the game at Alabama, but shout out to Peter Warrick.
I'm going to stick in a similar vein. I'm going to go with Tommy Castellanos' spiritual godfather. That is Nick Marshall, former Auburn quarterback. Went on to be played some cornerback in the NFL. But Nick Marshall, man, carried Auburn to an SEC title. They get to the 2014 BCS National Championship game. Just one of the most Gus Malzahn quarterbacks we've ever seen, where, it's not going to light the world on fire through the air. But in 2 years, he ran for almost 1,900 total yards, 23 touchdowns, and threw for 2,500 yards in 2014 that year. Ran a little bit less his second year as first. But Nick Marshall, very fun player. And I was getting some Nick Marshall flashbacks watching our guy Tommy Castellanos take care of business down at Tallahassee.
David, we have almost made it through week 1. You have been everywhere, back and forth. You've got one game left to get to over in Chapel Hill. I'm thinking, again, like I said, I might go live on YouTube after that game, depending on how things are shaking out. Keep an eye out for that.
Depends on if it's a talker. It might be a talker.
It's I'm glad college football's back, man. And I love the first weekend. We have so many games over so many days.
And we don't know anything. That's the thing. That's what I like about week 1. Really, the first month of the season is you're learning a ton every single week. And team stories are not really written. You're still trying to figure out, like, who are you for pretty much every team? And it changes. Be careful week 2, Chris, because these overreactions, there's going to be a team that looked really, really good in week 1 that goes and really does a good Peter Herbstreit impression in week 2 and just goes and takes a giant dump in the middle of the field. So be careful. Be careful. And there's going to be teams that you thought sucked after week 1, and they're going to come back and look like world beaters in week 2. That's how it goes.
Yep. And we will be back on Thursday for our week 2 preview edition, along with the news of the week. So thank you, everybody, for being here for what is a long and loaded episode.
Yes, sir.
I am Chris Vannini. He is David Ubben. We will talk to you later this week.
Oh, and bring back the turnover chain, please.